am a product marketing manager over at Healthie. And today we're going to be speaking with the team over at Awell on unlocking efficiency and learning how to automate your clinical workflows, as well as doing a product demo of the Healthie and Awell integration. Today, we're really excited to be speaking to Awell, because Awell is a low-code platform that clinical and product teams are using to design clinical workflows and really integrate them into their pre-existing tech stack. So with Awell, organizations can really automate routine clinical tasks, synchronize data between systems, drive coordination between care teams and their patients. So really excited to be speaking with the team today. Our agenda, so initially we're going to start with a quick intro to Awell's low-code platform, learn a little bit more about the team and what the company is currently focusing on. Then we will be, Olivier is going to be helping us out and running a demo of the Healthie and Awell integration, as well as speaking through some common workflows and use cases. Then we have Rob here from Wellinks, who's going to be talking about how Wellinks leverages Healthie and Awell to improve patient engagement, reduce administrative manual tasks for caregivers. Finally, speaking to the Healthie and Awell integration and how this can be implemented within the Healthie platform. And then we'll save some room for Q&A. If attendees can use the Q&A function at the bottom of the webinar, we'll make sure to answer all of those questions at the end of the call, maybe for 15 minutes or so. Now, just going to quickly do some intros of the Awell and Wellinks team. We have Olivier here. He's the head of operations at Awell. He's located in Belgium. We have Rick, partnerships lead at Awell, soon to be moving to New York. So excited to have you here. And finally, we have Rob, who's a senior product designer over at Wellinks, located in Chicago. I can quickly open it up to y'all for some brief intros, and then we can move over to Rick to do the intro to Awell.
Yeah, Olivier, maybe
yes.
start.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. So yeah, name is Olivier, based in Belgium. I have background as a pharmacist, but joined the digital health train now a couple of years ago already, and so acting as the head of operations at Awell.
Right. Rob, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name is Rob Calvi. I'm joining from Syracuse, New York. I'm a senior product designer at Wellinks with a background in service design and design thinking.
All right. And yeah, I'm Rick, partially lead at Awell, nurse by background. And thank you all for joining. I see some similar names popping up, so thank you for spending some time with us. Let me share my screen. Can I? Yes.
Of course, all yours.
So I will do a quick round intros of what Awell is, and then Olivier will do the actual demo. So until recently, the way to grow for any digital health company in this room was to just throw more humans at it, more humans at the problem. So they had more software engineers to build product, more care team members to provide care and run clinical operations. But now that money is not free anymore, the playing field has changed, and efficiency is the new game. And the winners of today and tomorrow will be those that can grow their patient volumes without growing the care team as much, while also improving outcomes and reducing costs. And after interviewing a bunch of people, what's blocking them is the following. So they now have clinical and product experts spending time mapping care flows, and care flows can be triage flows, clinical workflows, care pathway, what's in a name. And they design these things in Miro, Word, Lucidchart. And what then happens is, or these flows just live on as Google Docs, PDF flowcharts, and care is run in Excel sheets. And this results in a waste in operations, but also a lot of clinical errors. You have no idea if your providers are actually following the flows that you've designed. Or in some cases, these flows are getting coded into patient and care team applications, but this kills your time to market because you depend on your engineers, and the chances of your V1 being a V1 forever is pretty high, because we all know that if you file a Jira ticket, to ask for a quick change, the chances of engineers picking it up is pretty low at the moment. So what we thought is, okay, what if we can save clinician time so they can see more patients, automate routine clinical tasks, and then also sync data between systems. And how we achieve this and solve the previous problem is twofold. So first, power to the non-engineers. So we designed a no-code system used by clinical operations, product managers, clinical experts, and even engineers to design end-to-end clinical workflows. Olivier will show you that in a minute. You can use things as validated questionnaires. We have a list of 120 available. You can build your own forms. And then it's all with things like scoring, tasks, messaging, and if this and that logic. So let's say that you collect a PHQ-9. If the score is higher than 10, we do 5 things in EHR, in Healthy, sorry. If the score is below 10, then we do 5 totally different things in Healthy. For example, creating a task or something different. Because once the flows are designed in this no-code editor, then your engineers get the powerful tools, so APIs, SDKs, to integrate that with your existing CareOps tech stack. So we are a 100% headless solution. We don't push you another patient app. We don't push you another EHR or tool that your clinicians need to log into. We're just in the background triggering all the right activities at the right time to the right stakeholder or platform. And the use cases that we see or we cover are things like care pathways, protocols, onboarding flows, collecting proms and prems. So everything that is related to the clinical workflow is possible to build with Awell, or almost everything, let's say. And then if you wonder, like, why are organizations like Wellinks, but also Patina, Commons Clinic, why are they using Awell? So first and for all, we reduce their engineering resources. So it's not that you need to fire engineers once you start working with Awell, but they will just be able to focus on building modes instead of making changes and hard coding care flows. Second is we make your care teams more productive. So we have a lot of data showing that we increase patient capacity, we reduce the consultation time. And 3, we also help you with time to market. So as we all know, with payer contracts, you need to collect different things for different contracts. With Awell, you'll be able to design and modify these flows very quickly without depending on these engineers. And then for probably most important, we also have a lot of data showing that we improve outcomes. We, for example, have research showing that we reduce ER admissions by 25%. We increase patient capacity, and we also nearly double life expectancy at 1 year follow-up for lung cancer patients. All of this data and all the things that I've said is obviously backed by real customers and real analysis that we did with our organizations. I will send you the slide deck after this meeting, but we have quotes like this from Better Health, who said, like, it's so refreshing to work with Awell as a clinical operator because you are able to be much more agile because you are using this low no-code technology. It's a capacity multiplier. And then Rob, who's also in this call, he says that to us every couple of months, but he thinks we are one of the best tech stack vendors he has ever worked with, which is pretty cool to see. So all to say that if you are building your EHR in-house, you will have small muscles like me, but if you have or are using Awell and Healthy together, you will probably get big guns to provide very good care to all your patients. And maybe last point is that Awell is not just a tool. You will also get access to a team of world-class experts that know how to achieve clinical efficiency and that know how to build care flows that are driving better outcomes. I've been writing about CareOps a lot with the team, and we keep on doing that. So happy to be a thought leader or thought partner with you as well. That's the intro, Olivier. I think the floor is yours. Let me stop sharing.
Yes, great. Thank you, Rick. I'll indeed start sharing. And I hope I get those muscles after building this demo flow. Good. So what we're going to do in this demo is create a pre-appointment flow. And so this is, of course, based on use cases that our customers had. But the idea is to enable both patients and care teams to prepare for upcoming appointments. And so the pre-appointment flow consists of 4 different use cases, or 4 different small use cases, but it's all part of one flow that runs in the background. So for every appointment that is created in Healthie, we want to send a chat message in Healthie to the patient with a request to fill in a prompt questionnaire 7 days before the appointment actually takes place. This chat message should include a link that allows patients to fill in a prompt questionnaire, which in this case is the PHQ-9 questionnaire. Then based on those results, we want to either, well, do nothing because the PHQ-9 result is below moderate depression, or we want to create a task for the caregiver to prepare the appointment if the PHQ-9 result is higher than moderate depression or higher. Then third, we want to create a charting note in Healthie with the prom results. And lastly, well, at more or less at the same time, 1 day before the appointment, we want to send an SMS reminder to patient about the upcoming appointment. And so this flow needs to sort of run in the background and really, well, automate tasks that are usually done by the clinical team. So let's move to, okay, there we are. Let's move to the Awell Studio. So as already introduced by Rick, the Awell Studio is a drag and drop application where you can design, build your care flows in an application that is as easy to use as a tool like Lucidchart or Miro. But what you create in Awell Studio is actually an executable flow. It's not just a visual representation of your flow. It can actually be executed and used in clinical practice. And so, as I said, you need to drag and drop steps in the Awell Studio to the canvas. And steps in Awell Studio are empty containers to which you can add actions. And so actions are, well, there's lots of different types of actions possible in Awell care flows, but a couple of the basic ones are, for example, a form, which we'll use in the care flow, sending a message, a checklist that needs to be completed, a calculation that needs to be made, a clinical note that needs to be created. We also have a couple of advanced ones like API calls. But then probably the most interesting for this call are the actions that are enabled through extensions. And extensions in Awell are basically integrations with other systems. And so you can add actions in other systems to an Awell care flow. And extensions are part of our marketplace, as you can see here on the Awell website. So we have integrations available with lots of different tools, for example, with Dropbox Sign that would allow you to add a signature type of action to an Awell care flow. For example, if a patient needs to sign an informed consent, you can add actions in MailChimp or Mailgun if you want to send an email through these systems via an Awell care flow. Of course, Healthie as well, which we'll look at in a second. MessageBird if you want to send SMS messages as part of a care flow. And so all these integrations, extensions can be activated in an Awell care flow very easily and then be added, like you can see here, as actions in an Awell care flow. So I won't go into too much detail, but just want to show how easy it is to enable an extension or an integration in an Awell care flow. So I'll go to the settings in my care flow, extensions, and then you can see here which extensions I've already enabled in Awell. And so using an extension like Healthie in Awell is as easy as adding the API URL and the API key, which you can find in Healthie to the Awell platform. Once you click save, you can actually start using those actions in clinical practice. So going back now to my care flow, and so if we have a look again at the care flow that we want to create, we start with adding a Healthie chat message to the care flow. So what I've done here already is, well, as a first step of the care flow, we want to get some of the patient and appointment details into the Awell care flow. So what that means is, for example, we want to get the appointment date out of Healthie. We want to get the patient's first name out of Healthie because we want to use that in the Awell care flow. That's as easy as adding a couple of actions. Now, this step will be the chat message with prom And so what I'll do is add the chat message action, sending a chat message to this specific step. So there's some configuration needed, like we want to add the Healthie patient ID. So to whom we would of course like to send a chat message. In this case, we can use the patient ID as a data point. So the data point has been in the first step been extracted from Healthie. And so this is something we can use as a variable in Healthie. So for example, if I look here at the patient ID, so the AWell platform will automatically use this patient ID to send the right chat message, to send the chat message to the right patient. I also want to select the provider from who the message needs to come. In this case as well, I'm using a data point that comes from the first step to know to which provider from which provider the message needs to come. And so now I can just type whatever message I want to send to the patient. As a side note, you can also include variables like the first name. So here we see in this message the first name, but if you look at the chat message and in clinical practice, it would actually be the first name of the patient that was extracted in the first step. So hi, first name as an example. So this is a reminder about your upcoming appointment. We would like to ask you to complete a medical questionnaire. Please click the link below. So we of course need to provide the patient with a link where they can fill in this form. And so this is a AWell hosted page, which I'll show into a bit more detail later on. But it's basically, it would add a link where a patient can click on and then fill in this form. We just want to finalize the message with kind regards your care team. And so the configuration of the chat message has been completed. Now, of course, we want to add a form so that the patient can actually fill in the PHQ-9 form. This is already available in my in AWell at the moment. So I want to create a PHQ-9 form, but it's very easy to create your own form as well. So as you can see here, if I click on edit form, I get to the form builder of AWell, which has, well, lots of different question types. You can easily adjust questionnaires. You can easily create new questionnaires. I won't do this at the moment, but there's a lot of flexibilities to use your own questionnaires or to use validated questionnaires. Great, so we have our form. We want to make sure that it's a patient who needs to fill this in. And then lastly, we also want to add a calculation. The calculation will be the PHQ-9 calculation. We have lots of standardized, validated calculations available in AWell that you can select. I'll now select the PHQ-9 questionnaire, which will then calculate the PHQ-9 score depending on the answers that the patient gave. Voila, so my first step with 3 different actions is now completed. As we said in the presentation, we want to, well, this action or step to start 7 days before the appointment. So that is something that we can easily, add to the flow as well. That is in a transition. So what we want to do is we want to add a reference date. So we have the appointment date in Healthie. As I said, was extracted in this step. So 7 days, so minus 7 days before the appointment date in Healthie, we want to go to this step, which will then send the chat message with the prompt. That is use case 1. So that has been created in the care flow now. Second use case is, well, creating a task for the caregiver to prepare the appointment depending on the PHQ-9 result. So in this case, we'll need 2 steps. So we'll need an if this, then that type of logic depending on the outcome of the calculation. And so we'll call this step the do nothing step with, well, no actions. And the other one we'll call the create task step. We'll first add the if this then that logic. So again, so depending on the outcome of the PHQ-9 result, we either want to do nothing or create a task. And so very easily, I can add this as well to my care flow. So here, as you can see, we can add a condition. So if the PHQ-9 score is higher or equal to 9, then I want to go to the create task step, and that can happen immediately. In the other case, so if the PHQ-9 score is lower than 9, I want to go to the step do nothing, and that can happen immediately. I could also add, for example, delays, but in this case, I want to that to happen immediately. Voila. So here we can also quickly see so the transition. So if the PHQ-9 score is lower than 9, it goes to the do nothing step. If the PHQ-9 score is higher or equal to 8, this needs to be 9. Then it will go to the create task step. And again, very similar to the creation of the chat message, I can add an action, a healthy action, which is in this case, create a task. I will look it up, create task, yes. The same thing we need to do again, some configuration. So it needs to be linked to our healthy patient ID. Patient ID, we want to sign it to a specific user. So again, the primary provider ID. And then the content could be anything, but in this case, I'll say the PHQ-9 score is, again, a variable. So in this case, it will be the interpretation of the PHQ-9. Please prepare the appointment. Task can have due dates. I'll add this as well. So here again, we use a data point. So the appointment date and the appointment date, the due date of the task needs to be the appointment date. I can also say, for example, -1 day, so that the due date is actually 1 day before the appointment actually takes place. And voila. So again, this configuration has been completed. The last 2 steps we want to add, as you can see here, so is create a charting note in Healthy with the prompt results and send an SMS reminder. So I won't do this completely, but I'll just show, of course, it's exactly the same as we've seen before. It's just another action in Awell. So an empty step, we can add an action to it. Same thing as we did before. So this would then be create a charting node. And this needs to happen in both cases. So if we went to the do nothing step, or if you wanted to create a task, we still want to add the results of the PHQ-9 questionnaire in a charting node in Awell. Now the last step is then the SMS reminder. So again, here, what I'll do is add an action to an empty container. The only difference is that we're now not using the healthy extension, but we'll use the message bird extension. So similar as a healthy action, you can use message bird actions in Awell as well. So where it needs to come from at the center of the message could be a telephone number. In this case, I'll just use a fixed value. So it's a test message, but this could of course be just a telephone number, and the recipient of the message would be, in this case, again, a data point where we'll use the patient's phone number that we've also extracted to Awell in this first step. And this would then be, of course, this is a reminder for your upcoming appointment tomorrow. Please reach out if you have any questions, or if you can't join anymore or something. So again, very easy to create this once you've enabled the extension. What we wanted to do is, of course, the SMS message should only be sent 1 day before the appointment. So again, this can be configured in the transition. I want to add, so, and when does it need to happen? So 1 day before the appointment date. Voila. And so basically our care flow is now ready to be used. Once we published this flow, which can happen in the settings, so I can publish this care flow, I can actually immediately start using it in clinical practice. What is possible again is, of course, once you've published a care flow and you start using it with your patient, you can easily make adjustments to the care flow, publish a new care flow, and from then on, new patients will be included in the new care flow. So we'll now have a look at how this then looks like in clinical practice. So what I've done is I created a very similar care flow before that doesn't have the delays yet, because of course we don't want to wait until one day before the appointment to see the SMS reminder pop up. So I've created a very similar, well, basically the same flow already before this webinar, so that we can just sort of do one action after the other, which is a bit different than in what would happen in real life, but it's better for this demo. So I'm looking healthy for my demo patient, which is called Ada Lovelace. And so we'll book an appointment. And so this appointment will, of course, trigger the flow in Awell that will automatically send a chat message, create a charting note, and so on. So selecting the appointment, for example, that takes place next week, so May the 31st. I'll create it. And so in the background now, this care flow starts running. And so the first thing that should happen, of course, is sending a chat message. And we'll have a look at the chat here. As you can see, this is actually the previous message from the test. So it takes 10 to 20 seconds before, here we can see it pop up. So it just popped up, which is, hey Ada, this is a reminder about your upcoming appointment on the date that I just selected. To prepare for the meeting, we'd like you to complete the questionnaire. So the patient will be able to click on this link, which will bring them to an Awell hosted page. And so in the Awell hosted page, they will be able to fill in this questionnaire. Just as a small note, it now has the Healthie logo. You can use your own logos here. You can use your own colors, so it's customizable. I'll quickly go through the PHQ-9 questionnaire as if I was the patient. And we want the PHQ-9 score to be high so that we see the task creation and the charting notes created. So we've completed the questionnaire here. I'll get a message that there are no new activities for me to complete, and then I can close the page. If we then go back, a task will have been created, as you can see here. So the patient's depression severity is severe depression. Please prepare the appointment, which is assigned to me with the due date -1 day of the appointment, which was May 31st. And if I then go to the charting notes of Ada Lovelace, I can also see here that the charting note was created. So according to the PHQ-9, the patient's depression severity is severe depression. The charting note is, of course, now a bit limited. You could also include all the different answers to the 9 questions of the PHQ-9. But in this case, I just kept it quite simple. So that was the demo of this care flow. So I think in summary, it's quite easy to sort of create these kinds of care flows in Awell. And sort of they all run in the background with an integration with Healthie. So it's very easy to automate this type of care flows of tasks that usually your care teams would take on.
Thank you so much, Olivier. That was very, very insightful. And I just wanted to, call out one question in the Q&A. Matthew Reaper asked it, and thanks for answering in the chat, Rick. But I feel like it'll be valuable for the entire all the registrants to hear. So Matthew said, asked your documentation states that extensions are currently in beta. How stable / feature complete are they currently, and when do you expect them to exit beta? So
Yeah,
That's
I
a
can
good
answer that
question.
one.
So
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
oh, can you go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right, so yeah, so as typed, so we already encourage our customers to use the extensions today. We also did a major release on Monday to make them even more stable. So we don't have a fixed date on when we want to move them out of beta, but rather want to use the data and the feedback from customers to inform that decision. So as Rob also can mention, we take feedback very seriously. So we're continuously improving our webhooks and our integrations. So the beta label is mostly there to make sure customers understand that it's a feature that is still in development and that we are continuously improving that. But in terms of like completeness, we already have a lot of customers using the extension as of today, and they already get immense value out of it. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you, Rick, for sharing. Very, very helpful. And I believe now we're at Rob's part. Rob is going to demonstrate interoperability of Wellinks and Awell. Rob, I'm going to hand over the mic to you.
Yes, so maybe before Rob starts the demo, we just wanted to ask him 2 questions, so he had some context of why Wellinks has started to use AWOL, of course. So first question I had for Rob to give some context is, well, why did you start with AWOL? Sort of what were the challenges you were trying to solve with AWOL?
Yeah, definitely. So Rick's value proposition that he showed in the beginning of this presentation is really what the problems we were having, the problems we were looking to solve. So when we first approached Awell, it seemed like, you know, you guys were already thinking about what we needed to solve. So we were building out a CareOps team, which obviously, like, you guys at Awell are also leading a lot of the CareOps thought leadership in this space. We had a cross-functional team with clinical, product, operations, and engineering that needed the ability to apply agile principles to rapidly building, testing, and learning from what we were doing. But like you guys mentioned, you know, engineering resources can be constrained. And then also if the clinical team is trying to test minor changes, we need that to fit into our member and our clinicians' workflow very seamlessly, but we also need the ability for requirements to change. So we couldn't be constrained by having to sort of do a more waterfall method of development there. So we evaluated a number of tools that provide some of these automations. There were some definite solid ones out there that maybe are more like clinician task management, things like that. But Awell, your ability to let the business make updates directly while also being that sort of headless solution that wasn't forcing a new tool into our workflows was really, really promising. So that's one of the reasons we went with you guys. And I mean, you saw the quote I put in Slack, but you guys have been a really wonderful partner, and we've already saved engineering time getting to implement some of these pathways.
Amazing. Thanks, Rob. And can you also share some insights on sort of, what has been the impact on the operations? But I assume that it's been mostly sort of saving the engineering resources and being able to sort of implement those care flows more quickly.
Yeah. So some of the, like you're saying, improving the care flows and being able to make those care flow changes really quickly without depending on engineering resources has been huge for us. It's let our engineers focus on that high value work. This care flow that I'm about to demo, we're actually able to spin this up in about half a day. It came up in one of our CareOps meetings as I'm going to be demoing sharing our member feedback and NPS survey. That's something that we had been doing with some pretty manual workflows before, but as we were in one meeting, the idea of doing this came up, and we were able to build a prototype that got our clinical team's approval in less than half a day. So that was really huge for us. That usually would have taken even something that's going to look fairly simple on this end, probably 2-4 weeks worth of work, just fitting into everyone's schedules, making sure all of the requirements are set. So that was really, really huge. It's also letting us really reduce the training time required for these new workflows. because we are able to build a couple of sort of core actions that our pathways are listening for, and then riff off of those and build prototypes off of those core actions, we don't need a new like major training for all of our clinical staff. We're able to get a Loom and then have people watch that. They can ask some questions at their next all hands or all team meeting, and then start using it immediately. And we have the data to see if it's being used immediately as well. So it's really helping us improve our training and operations work. And the last point I wanted to make was that it's getting other people's wheels spinning on new ideas that we can do. So other teams that are working on different parts of the program, they're working with different parts of Healthie or with our app. Now they're saying like, hey, can Awell do that? What do we need to have it happen? And it's really reducing the amount of like it. We still want to involve our engineering team, make sure that they're comfortable with the risks, the data risk there. They're able to advise on that and have smaller chunks of work to bring value to the business than we used to have at the company. So it's been really great.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Rob.
I'll start the demo. This is going to
Yes.
be a similar workflow to what Olivier showed with the problems questionnaire. But there are some tweaks that we have here. So one of the things that was really important for our care team, and I think this is really common amongst clinicians, right, is don't want to feel like the computer is deciding what to do. Need the ability for clinicians to provide the appropriate care and override automations when needed. So we are triggering events off of signing and locking notes, as well as appointments being created or appointments being marked as occurred. This particular workflow triggers off of the signing of a note where we can send out a survey, but let's say we know a member is on bereavement or is going to be on vacation for a few weeks. We're not sending them surveys and reminders that they've already told us they're not able to do. So this will be a member feedback survey. If you come into the Healthie chart here and you go to the chart note, you can go create the chart notes. What's great about this is there's actually multiple different notes that can trigger the same action. But we have this demo triggers off of this member event form. So if we lock the note, it'll trigger in the background, and there is, like you said, a little bit of a delay here. But the first thing that happens once we trigger the survey going out is we will actually create a task so that the clinician can monitor if these surveys have been completed or not. Usually takes like 20 to 30 seconds. Oh, yep, you'll see a little new task bubble popped up here. So, hey, the member is supposed to complete this survey. We also include the link to the survey, right? So if the member can't get to chat, they need it somewhere else. Maybe they're on a call with our coach. The coach can fill it out right then and there. So that's what it looks like on the coach's side. On the member side, because we're using Healthie Chat, they will get an email saying, hey, Wellinks sent you a message. You can they can click and view the message right there. This is what the message looks like. So hey, we'd appreciate your feedback. Here's the link to the survey. So they're able to load the survey. We have our logo here. So we got a 10 out of 10 there. We have a couple of different questions about our program. This is a custom form. I was able to build this custom form in like 10 minutes, so very, very quick and easy to use. Then they'll hit submit. If there were other forms for the member to fill out, AWell would prompt them right here in the workflow. But in this case, this is the last activity. So they say, hey, thank you very much. When they go back, we've sent an automated trigger for once that survey is submitted, just to thank them for their submission, which is great. And then if you go to the coaches portal, oops. That task to complete the survey, that actually completed itself. So our clinicians don't even need to go and like clean up work that's happened. The system's able to do that for them. But if that task is open, they know, hey, this person hasn't filled it out. And in this case, this is another benefit of AWell. So there is some engineering work that we'll need to do to scale this solution, right? Right now, we're putting that that form data into a chart note right here, but this is a feedback form. It's not really a part of the EMR. So we're able to make a task right now for the manual work that needs to be done. But we didn't need to wait to go live with this for our engineering team to get that back-end integration going. So we're able to go live much sooner because of AWell and what we're able to build there. So that's my demo.
Thank you for sharing, Rob. That was incredibly insightful. And just wanted to address two questions in the chat from Drew before we hop into enabling the Healthy and Awell integration. Drew asks, are there any analytics available on the care flows, usage, abandonment, different results within Awell? Rick or Olivier, if you guys could speak to that.
I can give the first answer for you guys for what we're using. So Rick, there are certain lightweight UI features like the form and some of these analytics that we've actually been able to leverage. So as a product owner, I think of it as like headless plus a little bit, and so that plus things are the analytics and some of those views. So they are there and they are constantly improving sort of what's being shown there based off of some of the feedback we're getting.
Yep, thank you, Rob. And then also all the data. So our data stack is hosted on Elastic. So that's our data lake, and then we have Kibana on top of that. So every customer also get access to Kibana. And if you want, we can also pipe all the data to your data lake, for example, and then you can add your Tableau or BI tool on top of that. So the gist is that you will get access to real-time data at any time. So you don't need to send me an email like, hey, Rick, can you export our data? And then I will take 5 days and you need to pay $20,000 to get that data. That's not the case. You'll always have your data at point of care whenever you need it.
Thank you for sharing, team. And quick follow-up from Drew as well. Curious what AWell customers commonly use as the hub for the workflows if they don't currently use Healthy. The Healthy integration is very nice, by the way. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, so I'll answer that one. So indeed, so we do have a hub, an AWell hub that can be used as well in case you're not using Healthy as the main hub. We of course, I mean, the general idea is that it could be easier for care teams to just stay in Healthy and not having to use sort of a second system. So that's why we have set up this integration. But for teams that don't use Healthy, there is an AWell hub as well, where you can look at care flows, where you can start care flows, where basically the similar things as you can do in Healthy, you can see then in an AWell hub.
The other improvement to our workflows that you guys have helped make is actually if there is a AWell integration, that's a little plus point on our vendor evaluation. for us. So there are certain new features we're looking at, and seeing that you guys are already connected to them. It's not the only thing we're deciding on, but it definitely adds a bonus point for that vendor.
Awesome. Thank you all. Now, just wondering if Olivier, Rick, you guys can speak to enabling the Healthy AWell integration. I'm not sure if you want to screen share or just point out a couple notes there, and then we can hop into our Q&A section just to be mindful of time.
Yes, so I've already shown a bit sort of an introduction on how you use sort of the two platforms. So the idea is, of course, that you need to be a healthy customer and an AWell customer to use both platforms. And it's actually quite easy to to integrate both systems, since we've already set up this integration. So you just have to go to the settings in Healthy, create an API key, copy paste the API key from Healthy to AWell, and you can immediately start using the combined solution. So it's that easy. It can be done in 1 minute because we've already sort of developed this integration together with Healthy.
Yeah. And maybe Olivier, will you touch upon if you want to explore AWell further, or should I do that quickly?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so if you want to explore AWell further, feel free to just email me. So let me share my screen quick. So you can just email me at rick.awellhealth@awellhealth.com, or you can send me a DM on Healthy Nerds or Twitter or whatever social media platform you feel comfortable with. And then what we always do is we have a demo, which we had today. And then next week we can have a call where we discuss a use case that you like to validate with us. You can ask any other questions that you have. And after that, you get a free trial. So it's a 3-week free trial where you get access to a solution engineer, a customer success manager, and you can just validate the platform end to end. And then after that, you can make a go, no-go decision. So it's no strings attached. And then the free trial is we're offering to anyone that with access to a solution engineer, to those who book a discuss your use case call within the next 3 weeks. After that, we will move away from the free trial process that we now follow.
Cool. Thank you so much.